I was born in Manhattan, raised in Brooklyn. So I grew up in the Brooklyn school system, lived in a Jewish neighborhood. It was a project, but it was a Jewish project. I tell you what, this is a good story because I was a Little League baseball player and was pretty good at it. I was a really good pitcher and I can hit. And coming home from school one day, I can't remember how old I was, but one of the coaches from the Little League sat next to me and said, John, he said, one of these days you're going to be a pro athlete. Don't waste your money. But I was too young to even realize what he was talking about. I knew there were pro athletes, but I couldn't see that I'd be one day. I just couldn't see that kind of talent. How can you assess yourself at that age? And then I just progressed through the system and, got to high school, and that's when my high school football became really a role model because, we saw him every day. And when I started going a little bit off, not showing up to practice, one day I show up and he's waiting for me with the two captains. And he says, you know what? We can't use you on this football team. And I was in shock. I started to tear up. He says, you don't come to practice. He says, everybody else does. So you got 30 seconds to tell me what you want to do. And I said, I want to play football. And that was it. I never missed another practice, because I just needed somebody to yank me in the right direction. I was going a little off, and I made the right choice. And life is all about choices. If I had decided to act sassy and say the heck with you and all that, there would have been no Ohio State and no Green Bay Packers. They had somebody in the city that kind of looked at all the games and read a lot of things, and so I was recommended to Ohio State. And then at that point, one of the coaches came to see me, now very modest diggings, because we didn't have a very nice field or anything like that. And then Woody came out, which is amazing for my neighborhood because in New York, football wasn't that big. It was track and basketball. We had guys like Connie Hawkins come out of New York. Then Lou Alcindor, now Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, came out of the city. So that was big. But football was always like the redheaded stepchild, so to speak. And I went, and it was a big move. But Ohio's not that far from New York. It's like an hour's trip by plane. If you drive, you really have to go to one state, Pennsylvania. It's a long one, so you go to Pennsylvania, boom, you're right in Ohio. And so, I went to Ohio State. It was the best move I ever made. I would say that I was not the best athlete. I was good, but I outworked people. And I would, in high school, I did it with Kendall Eaton. When I was underclassman and he was a senior, and I looked at him and said, I'm going to take your position. And then I just figured out how to do it, right? So you don't make mistakes. That's number one. You practice hard. If they said run 20 yards, I ran 50. And I didn't make mistakes, and I worked hard, and you just get in there. I was big when we had to hit the bags. I tried to explode the bag, and it worked. And I did the same thing in college, because I knew when I got there, now, the athletes, it was a serious upgrade, because these Ohio football players are the real deal. Like Texas and Florida and California, these are good football players, and that's a football state. You'll put 10,000 people in the high school football game at night. And in high school, our crowds were like 500, 300, and then the kids didn't pay attention anyway. But so when I got there, I said, oh my gosh, if I'm going to get up this bench, I better outwork these guys. And so, fortunately, the Packers thought I was good enough to draft. And the morning of the draft, they said, if we can make a trade for you, we're going to pick you in the first round. I said, okay, But the draft was nothing like it is today. I was married, student housing. You sit in your little, bedroom with the bed unmade and stuff on the floor. We had a baby, Kelly. And it was very, there was no big going to Radio City Music Hall, strutting down the aisle, walking down the runways and, big presentations, nothing like that. And 20 minutes later, Pat Pepper, who was the GM, called me back and said, congratulations, you're a Green Bay Packer. And that was it. We only had one winning season my whole career in Green Bay. We were not very competitive, but I performed. I was Rookie of the Year. I made All-Pro, led the NFC in rushing, went to the Pro Bowl. And after my first 3 years, I was the first back in NFL history to gain 1,000 yards in each of his first 3 years, each of it from rookie year on. So anybody that does it multiple times now, they line up after me. I'm the first one to do it. And I think that was pretty interesting because consider who came before me. Jim Brown, Jim Taylor, Gale Sayers, Hugh McElhenney, all these great backs, came before me, and I was the first one to do it. That was really my fun stat. I was close to Little. I mean, I know that the film says Little Italy, but I was close to it. And I used to go down there and have lunch. And so I go into this one little sandwich store, and the owner was a very nice guy. And he was one of the red coats. I can't remember his name. And he told me one day, he said, you know, there's a little woman that comes in here, and she's a huge Packer fan. And she said that you were her favorite Packer, you know, and he said, you guys should get to be friends. And so he arranged it, and so it was Diane, and we met. That was in '93. And we became fast friends, you know, because of the whole Packer thing. Well, you know, we never quite had a dating relationship, you know, and then things got kind of strained. So I really didn't see her for like 10 months before I got sick. And so when we were separated, I started getting all these weird symptoms, you know, like swelling and throwing up. You know, making a long story short, I got really sick. One of the people from church said, you need to go to a doctor. So we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, well, I really can't see anything wrong with you, but why don't you go upstairs and take a blood test? And I almost said no because I hate needles. My buddies who was with me, Tim Caton, said that I'm going to call Diane. I said, are you crazy? I haven't talked to Diane in 10 months. Well, he called her anyway, and she shows up. And then the next day, she's trying to be my donor, you know. And Dr. George Father said, you know what? You're too little, you're too skinny, your kidneys won't service his body. He's just too big. So she kept hounding them, and they said, okay, they gave her a sonograph and found out she had oversized kidneys. I got the smaller of the two. Well, we definitely felt it was providence and not luck, because too many things had to go together for it just to happen, you know, blood typing and all this other business. And her being there, for crying out loud, well, I wouldn't say she's a guardian angel, but she's definitely, I mean, she changed my life. I mean, look, if Diane was not in the picture, I'm still on dialysis. So I was off in 6 weeks, and it was, I mean, she literally changed my life. She saved it. You have to be willing to give somebody, you know, kidney that's on your short list. It's a wonderful gift to give. Hi, my name is John Brockington. I'm a Green Bay Packer Hall of Famer, and you're watching The Block.